Grexon says, I feel most of Asmon's complaint from the little I watched comes from the fact that he has played mostly loot gear based games. Then again, very few games have gone the economy direction like Star Wars Galaxy and Eve. I think that's the general thing I talk about, Grex, because a lot of the complaints from the theme park MMO base, Sandbox actually addresses that. It's not that Sandbox is, a perfect system. It's all just a matter of what you want. It'd be really cool to see them, especially live streamers, people who have lots of time. They can invest all that. They can invest that time in these sandboxes. And Dune apparently is a sandbox as well. I really do think the future of the MMO is the sand park. It's, blending these things together. All right, here we go. Hello everyone and welcome. Thank you so much for checking this as a VOD and or highlight for a react here to Asmongold putting out some original content, talking about every live service game is the same. So I figured we'd sit down today, we'd see what he has to say, we talk about it, namely because if you don't know me and my style and what I enjoy from the MMO and especially the live service, really it's the sandbox, it's the player driven economy. It's a lot of these things that I feel actually address long-time theme park MMO complaints, because essentially you get on these gear treadmills and you kind of just burn yourself out. And the games and publishers themselves haven't done themselves any favors, like with dailies, what people refer to as chores and various things like that. That FOMO, when you start baking in that fear of missing out into your play cycle, it turns me off. Like, there is no faster way for me to not be interested in your game is if you try to artificially make me feel like I have to be playing your game. I got too much stuff going on. I'm an adult. I got a family. I've got a job. I got things that I want to do. And I also have a killer backlog of incredible video games. So, balls in your court. Don't make it mandatory. Don't make it forced. But let's go ahead and jump in and see what Zach's got to say. I've already hit like on his video. If you guys enjoy this content, be sure to hit that like button. But here we go.
Hi guys, it's me again. Today we're going to be talking about online video games, MMOs, and why I've been moving away from them. I'm turning into a boomer playing single-player video games and feeling better than ever. How could this have possibly happened to me? And I want to talk about...
I think he turned 34 years old. I think we'll just leave it to that.
About exactly, systematically, keep that word in mind, systematically how that's happened. Now, I want to warn you guys, before you watch this video, if you like playing a lot of online video games, you love live service games, and you think anything the way that I do, be careful. Because after you see these patterns, I feel like there is no way to unsee the man behind the machine. So anyway, the big issue that I've had a lot with online video games is that it feels like it's building a castle on sand, it's building a castle on the beach, and then every 60 to 90 days, the tide comes in, washes your castle away, and the only thing you have left to show for it is maybe a cosmetic FOMO item for some seasonal event. Oh!
There it is, the FOMO item, the castle on the sand, the constant gear treadmill that they put you on with gear that really doesn't change the way you play. We've seen these, like Final Fantasy XIV, I think is the best example of a really boring gearing system, is it just is a stat stick for the player, and the gear is all just driven off of a person's fashion choices, rather than having a piece of gear that you work towards that provides a gameplay level change. But they can't do that because they got to streamline it, because they have to, I guess, hit the raids. They got to do all these different things. And so it is a very easy way of getting people burned out. And it's actually the point where it's like, why would I want to play and invest this time into a game when literally, if I don't play, they're going to speed me through the catch-up process. There isn't an advantage. And they're trying to balance that out with getting, more casual players, enjoying the content. But that's where I think horizontal content and vertical content are needed. But if you have just a pure verticality in terms of that game design, you're going to run into the situation, and it's only a matter of time. I mean, I saw a tweet from Lulu, and she's just been on tearing Final Fantasy XIV, a new one, And I think that's just the natural course of it. After you've spent so much time doing the same thing with a different skybox, eventually you kind of wake up to it. Anyway, let's see what Zach has to say more.
Boy, you don't want to miss those. There's a collection tab. You loot an apple, and it says 1 out of 634. Oh boy, are we having fun now. Oh, exciting. And so I've been seeing this with every single online game. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me? How am I letting myself get my time wasted on such a cataclysmic scale? By the way, 35,000 hours I've played World of Warcraft, okay? I don't regret a single minute of it. But goddamn, I wouldn't want to do all that again. And so here's the point. I feel like every single online game, it doesn't matter whether you're playing Honkai Star Rail, Genshin Impact, Wuthering Waves, Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, or New World. None of these things matter because all of these games follow the same DNA. And the DNA, if you want a very easy way to condense this down, it is keep you addicted and waste your time. That's basically what happens. And so people say, oh, well, you want instant gratification. You're goddamn fucking right I do. I'm playing a video game.
Oh man, that's all in terms of what the game offers, right? Because I think instant gratification, that's why cash shop stuff I think is actually a bigger issue within these MMOs. Financially though, like I say that, but also I know financially the sub has not increased, and I pay more for my eggs than I do for a subscription to an MMO now. That wasn't the case 10, 15, 20 years ago. So there's been some massive shifts, and the sub price being what it is, you see more and more games going away from it. So economically, the economics of what it takes to have an MMO to continue to run and support an MMO has vastly changed. But in terms of like wasting your time, like the pushback or the question I would have is like, isn't that the end game design of a video game? Is, you know, it's a time sink. It's a place where you, out of your passion, get to go put it in the bucket. And not every video game is created the same, but MMOs in their core design, sandbox, people complain about sandbox because they complain that it's like you have to have a job, you have to live and breathe in this world. But that's what they're trying to sell you. That's the appeal. Like, come live in this other world. We just did a reaction to some Star Citizen. That's a sandbox MMO. It's lots of freedom. We're going to let you play in the sandbox, and people are going to create their own drama and stories all around the rules of the game. That appeals to a certain type of gamer, whereas in something where if you want more a Diablo or a curated experience, and then from the financial side, they want to keep you coming back to that well. But yeah, I think single player games have been, really kind of eating into MMO players who've been playing these games for, 34,000 hours, 10,000 hours. Like, and then all of a sudden people are kind of wanting a different experience, and then they end up waking up to that a little bit. But also I think age has a factor, right? As we all get older, we have less time right now, unless you're retired or you're a full-time content creator. Yeah.
If I didn't want instant gratification, I'd go back to my own boring real life. Of course I do. I don't want to spend 40 hours farming for some helmet.
But that doesn't also that helmet means it's worthless, right? So the level of effort that you put into getting that piece of gear actually has value to the player themselves. You just have to balance that kind of rewards. What kind of gear are you searching for? Why are you searching for that gear? And then what kind of gameplay effects does it have after? So whether it takes you 40 hours or 400 hours, you're going to find those sinks of time, but also then translate to actually having like a fondness for that, because you know how much time that took you. And we've seen, again, going back to cash shops, the short changing of that, the short circuiting of a lot of this has, I think, really negatively affected the MMOs, but I think also the economics behind MMOs and just how massive a black hole the World of Warcraft was in terms of just how much it consumed people's playtime and game time, and the zeitgeist of it all, where it really just changed the direction of, I think, MMOs for the rest of ever since then.
Stupid. And I understand the irony of this. Because as one of the residential spending 40 hours farming for a helmet YouTubers, over the years especially, I've done this a lot. Okay? I've even made guides on how to do it in only 38 hours and save a little bit of time. But nowadays I look at that and I just don't have the same outlook on life that I used to, and I cannot even fathom wasting my time in such a exorbitant way. And I think that this is a big thing for me. Like, I'm I'm getting old. I'm 34 years old. And back in the day, and you guys can tell me if this is true or not in the comments with you, is that back in the day when I would play online video games, the reason why I would play them is so I could show everybody else in the world that I was better than they were. And I got so caught up in this. I love being able to do this. This is my favorite thing to do. And it was a big sense of, pride for me in a way. And I don't see this as a bad thing really at all. I don't hate myself for this. I don't think I'm stupid for doing this. But it's just that at this point in my life, I'm no longer feeling that way about video games. I don't need to play a video game to show off that I'm better than somebody because, again, I've gotten old. I don't really care that much about this anymore. And so I just play video games, imagine this, for fun.
That's the key right there. That's the absolute key, for fun. It's so funny when he's describing old as 34 years old. When I was young, I defined old as like 1,000 because I was like, I'm never going to get old. I'm not going to get it to be 1,000. And it's funny because whenever I hear people like think of that, like in their 20s or maybe in their 30s, and they're like, oh my gosh, 50 is so old, or 40 is so old, or 30 is so old. I was like, you're setting yourself up for a world of hurt. You're setting yourself up to cross a line that is naturally going to be crossed in a very small amount of time. And you're going to be like, oh no, I'm old now. It's like, everybody goes through these different evolutions. We all go through these different changes and more. And this is just, I think, a natural evolution, especially as you start getting older. You start thinking about different things. You have different needs and different wants. Zach's been taking better care of his health. He's been cleaning his house. There's a lot of real positive things that are going on out there. So yeah, I think it's this just feels like the logical evolution of a gamer, especially when it's related to live service and the model as it exists right now.
How do I get to this point? I get to this point and I look at video games, and it seems like so many of them are infected with the exact type of rot, the exact same type of rot, and that is every 60 to 90, some of them they're a little bit different, but they're all basically the same paradigm. Every, few months or so, there is a battle pass, a season pass that probably has a paid version that is higher than that sometimes provides, actual good rewards, like things that are play for power, like, Star Rail or something like that. Or it just has cosmetics, like something like Kirax Vault Pass in Path of Exile, as a general rule, right? Or the trading post in World of Warcraft that functions as a battle pass. And so, anyway, these things happen, and it makes me feel like every single one of these games is operating on this usually 60 to 90 day patch cycle that repeats the same content over and over. There's an event for different types of, different types of social events, like, Chinese New Year. That's a really big one. You've got Halloween and all of these different events. And I feel like oh wow, you hate Halloween events. No, I don't hate Halloween events, but every year when they have them, this is just really to sell skins, right? And when every single game is doing this, there's a certain sense of escapism that I'm looking for in a video game that really kind of evaporates when you see every single one using the exact same, content delivery method, right? And so I see these games with these battle passes every single time, and it makes me feel like I'm wasting my time doing them, because every time I fill up one of these battle passes, every time I complete a season journey, every time I, complete all of the tasks that have been allotted to me, well then I wait for a few months and then I have to do the whole thing over again. That's my big reward. And all of them are built around some form of FOMO item. And I feel like FOMO is a very double-edged sword, and I think this is especially true with live service games. And what I mean by that is, with a lot of live service games, how many of you guys played a live service game and you logged on every single day. You want to make sure every day you never miss that daily, right? Because you don't want to fall behind. And so you do that, and one day you miss it. It's like, ah, man, I missed it. Okay, well, I'm going to log on the next day. I'm still doing it every other day, so it's fine. And so then later on, maybe you end up accidentally missing 3 days. And then you tell yourself, well, maybe, and this could be any period of time, not 3 days, it could be 3 weeks, 2 weeks, right? Every game is different. But you tell yourself, oh, well, now I'm so far behind, it's not really worth playing anymore because I can't catch up. And I think that's what ends up happening with a lot of people, is that FOMO is a great way to keep people in the game, but FOMO is also a great way to keep people out of the game. And so
I've described it as FOMO. It works until it doesn't, because it is a great way of getting you sucked in, and you're like, oh, I'm having fun, I'm enjoying this game, I'm going to keep playing this game. Oh, there's this thing that I get every day that I can log in and take part in, and so you go and you do that, and then eventually, just like you said, it happens. Now, the solution to this has been the player-driven economy. If, as a player, you can log in every day and you can get these rewards, and then you can trade those rewards with other players, you can actually make that a part of kind of the going rate, where then a player who comes back in is like, well, oh man, I can't catch up. Oh, I could go to the markets and I can get caught up. And so then there's a benefit to both the players and having them be able to step away. But we've seen more and more and more gear and items go into bind on pickup, as opposed to like bind on equip, for example. Like, I think those bind on equip is a perfectly good example of a system for gear in place, so that way you don't end up having a deflationary effect on the gear within the game, especially when you're coming in. You want to be able to incentivize the crafters and those who are providing for the economy. I think the other aspect of it is the content that you do rewarding you directly with the gear itself, as opposed to with materials that then the market can use to craft the gear that you need. And I would love to see a bigger, more focused return on what it means to craft, what it means to gather, what it means to provide the economy. Because some players, like myself now, as I've gotten older, I enjoy more of that than I ever did when I was more interested in all the pure combat stuff from previous.
So more and more, as I'm spending my time doing other things that I find to be more enjoyable, the appeal of trying to continuously play an online video game to catch up and to keep up with all the FOMO rewards, it becomes more onerous, more of a pain in the ass, and just more of, let's just be honest, guys, it's more of a waste of time. And so this is something that, and what's very weird for me talking about this, and I'm sure a lot of people will be kind of shocked to hear this, because I used to be the person who was the most fixated on this. I would never miss anything in WoW. I would never do anything. I would always make sure I get everything done and be a complete completionist, right? And I feel like being a completionist completely wastes my time. So I stopped doing it. And it sounds like such a, an obvious thing to do, but I feel like there's a lot of people out there that are stuck in that hamster wheel, and they feel like if they get off of the hamster wheel, then they've wasted all their time on the hamster wheel, so they can't get off because of sunk cost fallacy. And it's like, I remember when Blizzard made the $90, I can't even believe this, $90 store mount. They put this out there, and I'm seeing people in the comments, oh my god, I'm gonna have to buy this because I want to get all the mounts, but it's so expensive. It's like, what do you mean you have to buy this? What's wrong with you? What are you talking about, you have to buy this? And the thing is that, I could also be talking to myself from 10 years ago, and that's the really ironic thing about it. And so the reason I'm making this video is to express kind of my current state of mind. I still like online video games. I can still play them for fun, but I can never really fully invest into them because I feel like so many systems and mechanics inside of them are designed to waste your time. And I've noticed this, and I contrast it with something like Elden Ring, or I contrast it with something like that I've been playing a lot recently. Metaphor Refantasia.
Yeah, what a good
amazing,
game.
Incredible game. I loved it.
Good
I ended
game.
up taking a day off today. I've been playing it all day. It's been really fun. And so I see these other single-player games that they don't make you sit through, 4 or 5 hours of meaningless, annoying activities in order to get the reward. They just give you the reward. And the reason why is because they've already got their reward. They've already got your money. So it doesn't matter to them anymore, like whether you're, spending more time on the game. They just want the time that you spend on the game to be as meaningful and fun as possible. And I compare that with online video games, and it's like, okay, well, every time that you go on a loading screen, there's an advertisement for a skin. Every time that you open up the menu, there's another advertisement for the store. Every time that you open up the launcher, there's an advertisement for, like a battle pass, right?
I wonder how much of this is WoW, and then obviously the free-to-play model, like Throne of Liberty and, Lost Ark. Because, like, I don't feel generally advertised to. I know in New World they have, obviously, the cash shop, and it usually kind of cycles in with the different seasons, but I don't feel like I'm constantly being advertised to in New World. So I'd be curious if other people feel like that way, or if they feel like, other games that I'm not even mentioning here right now also kind of have that impact. Because I don't know, like I know I spend money on like YouTube Premium and stuff like that, so I don't get ads. I think ads like annoy me, and then especially with young kids who don't know what they want, and like that's why YouTube is so dangerous for children. That's why we've seen so many thankfully crackdowns with COPPA on YouTube for kids stuff, because they don't know they're being advertised to. And honestly, I think with a lot of the access media and what we've seen within gaming over the course of the last like 10 years, more and more, it feels like everything's kind of been corrupted just a little bit each and every year. See here, Yammerin in chat says New World doesn't really advertise in the shop. Yeah, like they have the shop, and you can go check it out. Mostly they'll post on their website like some seasonal, hey, here's new motes, or here's some new gear and things like that. And it's not I've never felt like it's in my face, urging me to buy.
And so all of the different tools in online video games are designed to try to keep you playing the game as long as possible, but the quality of that entertainment, I do think, is lower. But I think it's a mindset shift that I've had, where I used to always think that, being good at a video game doesn't matter if you can't beat other people at it, right? And I was thinking to myself, and that's how I always felt.
I know people like that.
But then I realized to myself, beating people at a video game doesn't really matter either, because it's a video game. So kind of shocking, isn't it? And again, guys,
I don't know, like if we think about terms of content creation, there's definitely content creators. I've talked about it like kind of 3 pillars. You need to be likable, and you need to be knowledgeable, or you need to be good, like at the game, or entertaining, kind of that actually probably be a 4th pillar. To some respect, when it comes down, there's people who make it off of being really good at beating other players. I think that's when you look at, especially Fortnite, Ninja comes to mind, excelling in terms of various different rankings. More and more, players have come on and into the space, obviously, since then. But there is that aspect where I think what we've seen is with the monetization of, with content creation and with all around video games, it attracts a certain type of gamer. So you do have this sense that, like, hey, here I am trying to work on doing this thing. I'm trying to make my content. I'm trying to make it as a content creator so that I can play video games, and you end up working yourself to death for not a lot of money, and you end up sacrificing a lot. But so I wonder if there is a level of difference, from Zach's level of success versus, somebody who's just, barely making it, barely getting by.
And down below, if this is something that this is a revelation that's also occurred to you. And so I see these things where it's like these 90-day reward structure cycles that repeat, and they usually power creep each other. So it's like if you work really hard in a game, this is something that Classic WoW always did really well. I'm a Classic Andy in a lot of ways. Is that if I took a break in BWL and AQ and Nax came out, well, I could come back and I'd still be in BWL. It's not like I would just be kind of accelerated to Nax and all of my effort that I had put previously would be invalidated. But I feel like a lot of video games have a reset power creep cycle that happens on a cyclical basis that's generally correlated with either a seasonal model or a battle pass model. And these types of mechanics are tiresome. They're very tiresome to me. And as I've spent a lot of time playing these games, I've realized that I'm not really having as much fun completing these tasks because of the inevitable futility of it, where ultimately I'm not really going to be able to achieve anything in this game. Not like it matters, but it feels like it matters. Again, if you like playing these games and you're having fun, then that's all that matters. That's literally all that matters. Like, you don't need to justify it to me. You don't need to justify it to anybody. But I think that what happens is that a lot of times people put the expectation of like, oh, am I having fun, with how many other people are having fun the same way. And so for me, moving over to playing a lot more single player games, I don't have to keep up with like, you know, like really fastly evolving metas. You know, I'll log in, like everybody's playing and grinding. It's hard to play a competitive game like that unless you're playing it all the time because of just how fast information travels now online. And ultimately, I'm playing these games. I can't really, you know, maintain a degree of like, you know, like maybe like competitive nature, right? Because, and also some people might say skill issue, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to agree with you. I don't even really care. It's not really that big of a deal to me. I just want to play the game and have fun. And if I'm getting fucking destroyed, like how many...
A lot of this continues to feel like, you know, Asmon in his 30s versus Asmon in his 20s. And maybe there's something to it, right? Like, I think I remember being, you know, really big into fighting games. And this is before, like, a lot of fighting tournaments actually, you know, came up, like Evo and things like that, where I think if I was young now, that would be something that I would have been really, really interested in. But yeah, I think it's interesting because, yeah, I a long time ago stopped caring. I think it's the other aspect. It's like, as you get older, you stop caring about what people think about you. You're like, I don't care. I'm just going to go do the thing I'm going to do. And then you guys can either get out of the way or you can come with me. One option or the other. But I feel like a lot of what we're seeing here from Asmon is like, yeah, welcome to your 30s, man. Welcome. Glad you're here. Keep it going. Keep on moving.
If you guys used to play Fortnite and you stopped playing it because, you know, you build like your little, okay, all right, you son of a bitch, you come over here. And then over there, he's building the Eiffel fucking Tower. And you feel like a clown and you lose. And so you just lose interest in playing the game. I think that's what's happened with a lot of online games because everybody's wanting to make a name for themselves. You know, like for a lot of people out there, it's, I wouldn't say, you know, kind of, it is. It's a job for them, right?
Yeah.
They're doing this as a career.
Exactly.
So they want to be as competitive and as good at this game as possible. And I think the reality of that is that there's so many people out there that it really makes it hard for an average player to have fun playing one of these games when metas and skill caps evolve so fast that you have to maintain a certain degree of consistency playing it, or you're probably not going to have a good time because you're going to get skill gapped or power crept depending on what the game is. And in fact, in some of them, it's actually both. And so what's happened is that I've kind of realized this cycle of futility, and I've realized that, like, why am I trying to keep up with this to, like, maintain the same amount of effort and time when, you know, again, why wouldn't I want to have my cake and eat it too, right? Why would I want to invest a huge amount of time into something like this that I'm not really enjoying? And I feel like another thing is daily rewards or weekly rewards.
Hate 'em.
A lot of these online video games, they have like a reward structure that is very front-loaded, which means that you're getting 80% of the rewards in like 5% of the time, and then you spend the other 95% of the time getting the remaining 20% of the rewards. So they're designed for you not to play a lot and to basically stay on this treadmill and move at the pace that they've set for you. And I also find this to be very fatiguing as well, because there's some days I don't really want to play at all, and other days where days where I want to play maybe 6 hours, 8 hours, and I feel like that time and effort isn't rewarded in a proportional level, and it feels like my time is being disrespected. And I think that's really a fundamental concern that I have too, is that I think a lot of these online games are built with systems that are cynically designed to waste your time in the most, you know, like subversive way possible. And I see this happen a lot. And this is also, this is the worst thing, is that, oh, wow, you don't like grinding? Oh, you're not a fan of that? You don't have time?
Why are you playing these kind of games?
Guess what? we have the solution for that. We've created the problem, and now you're going to pay us to solve it. So there's like these pay for convenience, pay for, power systems. So it's like, oh, well, I can't keep up all the time and I can't play all the time, so I'm going to spend money on the game. And I think that some people have rationalized this into becoming normal. I don't think that it's normal at all. Who decided that you have to pay money to advance in a video game? Like, who just...
I think the arcades. And then we had a period of time where they didn't have the ability. And then with the internet, then all of a sudden that's come back in. Now, that's where, again, like I also would say, like, while I am enjoying New World and I play online video games, I have also been gravitating more and more towards a different style of game, like No Rest for the Wicked. If you guys haven't seen that, I think it's incredible. They're working on having their multiplayer aspect, but these, in a way, complete games where live service also is, because of its nature, and this goes all the way back into the economics of it. In order to make a live service game launch now, like, you need to have 5 years of content in it on day one, or that people are going to come and play, and then they're just gonna go back to whatever they were playing, or they're going to wait for the next thing. And so there's been this like locust style effect. And I think overall, especially when we look at last year and this year, especially when we look at like kind of the Gamergate pushback, we're not seeing live service games really even draw in that audience, because I think that audience, for those who are looking for those kind of games, have already been captured. Minecraft, for example, is still massive. The studies coming out showing that most of the game that time people play, 67% of game time, is on games that are 6+ years old. These live service games from a long time ago, where we don't have that, we don't see that currently going on as well. And so to launch as a new game, you have to bring so much quality content, completionist. That's where I'm really interested to see what happens with Star Citizen. They are really making that investment, but it's going to act as a barometer when 1.0 eventually does come out, because then you'll sit here and say, oh, it took $1 billion to do this, or something like that. Who in their right mind would want to do that? You need crazy people leading that entire industry to truly shake it up, because everybody else has just kind of come out with a variant of World of Warcraft. Final Fantasy director Yoshi P said the exact same thing. He's like, we're copying World of Warcraft almost to a T, to the point where I would venture to bet we will see a level squish in their near future. So just, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that game, but we'll let Zach continue from here.
Decided, oh, because you don't have time, now you have to pay money. Well, I'll tell you who decided that. The people you're paying money to. This is a completely invented problem that you could solve with 50 different solutions, but big surprise, the one solution that keeps being used is the one that's the most beneficial to the people that are making the games. And again, that's fine if you like this kind of stuff. I don't. I feel stupid. I feel stupid paying to win, and I feel stupid playing free to play. I feel stupid for playing it at all. And so I thought to myself, am I going to spend my whole day being stupid? Yeah. But not that stupid. That's terrible. And so I quit playing. And so I felt these different systems, and it's like every game has these. It's not like one game has this. Every online video game follows these same content delivery structures. They follow the same reward structures. They follow the same progression structures. They follow the same store models. And it doesn't even matter what the genre is. How is it that you can have a game that is about shooting people with guns that is fundamentally the same as a game that's killing dragons, or a...
Dude, in chat, Derek says, man, I hated WoW. It felt dumbed down compared to Star Wars Galaxies. Star Wars Galaxies is the one regret that I had. I never played it when it was out. I was so addicted to Final Fantasy 11, and that's very similar. I hear like a lot of that sandbox aspect. And yes, oh gosh, when WoW came out, people were like, oh, your tunes. I was like, they're characters. In Final Fantasy, we call them characters. We're not calling them tunes. And just even the whole like verbatim and that kind of friction. But clearly, when it's all said and done, in a marketplace of ideas, more and more people found WoW accessible, and wanted that style. And then that unfortunately set the mold so that sandbox games have really struggled, to the point where if your only experience is with something like World of Warcraft or a theme park MMO, stepping into a sandbox feels like you're trying to learn a new language. People cannot actively play, you know, or communicate. They don't know, like, because then that's where you see the number one complaint. It's like, oh, they want me to make this my job in order for me to progress, because a lot of people want to do things by themselves. A lot of people want to do that. And that's also a response to the economics of it. Why we see these companies make these MMOs that are single player. You never really need to talk with anybody else, because they need that volume of players to justify the mounting and increasing costs. Mr. Nocturnal here says, shame on you. I agree. Like, if I could go back in time, that would be one thing that I wish that I got to play. I have so many friends now that are like, oh man, Star Wars Galaxies, that's where it was at. And it's unfortunate that game's no longer with us, you know? Anyway.
A game that's like an anime waifu collector.
Woo.
Really, Call of Duty's got the same progression standard, kind of? I mean, in an abstract sense. So Honkai Star Rail, what the hell is going on? And as soon as I've realized this, I've taken a step back. And I've tried to have fun playing video games. And that's where I'm at now. I've been playing a lot of video games that are single player, that I feel respect my time a lot more, that I feel are paced in a way that's not disrespectful. And I think they're really fun. And I'm not thinking about who is, you know, like, who am I beating at the game, or, you know, where am I on a leaderboard? It doesn't matter where I am on a leaderboard. It's a fucking video game. Who gives a shit? I'm having fun. I'm enjoying myself. And it's been great. And so I wanted to make this video and talk to you guys about where I'm at personally, why I haven't been playing a lot of these online video games, and why I've fallen out of favor with it. I yearn for the day that there is an online video game that makes me want to waste my time.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, there's not. And so I'm stuck here being a boomer, playing single-player games, and that's just about it.
And having fun.
And
oh my gosh.
I hate to say it, guys, but I'm happy.
Oh, good.
So anyway, I wanted to talk about this a little bit, give some of the different little patterns that I've been seeing a lot of these online games having, and also share where I'm at. And I think the reason why I wanted to make this video is because I feel like a lot of you guys out there might be a little bit like me. And let me know in the comments if you are. I'm quite curious. I think this is a long overdue discussion, because I feel like this permeates not only the enjoyment of the game, but what are games fundamentally. For a lot of people, they're a form of escapism. And I don't feel like I'm escaping into a treadmill. You know, it's like I'm in my real life that is in some ways a treadmill. I'm lucky, you know, in the job that I have. Some people aren't as lucky. Their real life is much more like a treadmill than mine is. And then it's like, finally, you know, I've been working all day. Time to go home and work in this video game. Miss me with that bullshit, man. And so that's the way that I feel.
Man, just give this guy some kids, right? Like, let's let's see the perfect evolution of Asmongold from 20s to 30s. Let's get him married. Let's let him have a whole pack of kids and see what he's like. See what his opinion is. Like, oh man, you get to play. How many hours a day do you get to spend playing video games and reacting to content? Like, woo! What is free time? Oh man, oh, that just cracks me up.
Let me know in the comments how you feel, and I hope there's more discussion about this. I really do, because I hope that it'll lead to better online games that are more respectful of your time and fundamentally more fun. So that's about it, guys. I'll see you later. Peace.
That was a good video. Thank you, Zach, for making some original content. It's gonna be interesting, because when it's all said and done, and I'm gonna bring in the Discordians here, but when it's all said and done with Asmon and with that, like, Star Citizen in and of itself is kind of I keep looking at it as a great answer. This thing that feels just next level, that just feels like it's made by insane people. What do you guys think?
To me, this feels like the video seemed like he acknowledged that he's grown out of the genre.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I think is natural. I think
that's why I said, like, he got older and his taste changed. Shocker.
Shocker.
Right? Like I've gotten older. I don't have when I was younger, I used to play fighting. I used to love playing Super Smash Brothers. Now, as I've gotten older, I don't care about the game anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I have more of an appreciation for non-combat questing, and activities in MMOs and stuff. Tastes change as we get older. I've grown out of the theme park and grown into the sandbox, whereas 10 years ago, I was more of a theme park guy. So to me, it just seems like he's making a public announcement that his tastes have changed.
Well, also his content as well, right?
Because the thing is, I don't disagree with much of what he said, or really anything.
Yeah.
He's basically right. It's just people like me kind of don't care.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, like, yes, all these things are true. The treadmill, the FOMO, all that stuff, that's true.
Derek in chat says this is so great. He's like, if he thinks 34 is old, he's in for a rude awakening.
Dude, knock wood. Yes. I'm 34, and I'm like, the other day my shoulders were bothering me, and a couple days later, my mom asked me, she's like, "Are your shoulders okay?" I was like, "Yeah, luckily I'm still at that age where I can sleep on it, and it'll feel better the next day."
You got to be stretching. You got to make time, like, do it now.
No, I gotta work out.
Well, not just work out, but like, I can't express to you guys just how important flexibility becomes the older you get. And so, like, trying to generate a routine where you're just like, all right, I'm going to just kind of spend some time, stretching, right. And it's just like, so your body can be as, nimble as it can be. Because it's going to keep getting harder and harder. So if you can develop that routine, you can develop that habit, then as you get older and older, like, you end up there's so many benefits. We're going to try to pull out some plays just for everybody who's hanging out. Try to get into Ashes, and if it won't let me into Ashes, then I'll switch over and play some New World and maybe I'll get to level 20 on the Battle Pass or something.
It's like talking about bonds and getting older and whatnot. A couple of my co-workers in the area that I work in, there's a pothole inside the warehouse.
That's fun.
And people, with the forklifts, it's real fun because there is no real suspension where it absorbs the shock.
Yeah.
So it's like they forget about it. They line up. I just sit there and watch them, and then they're sitting there cussing because they ran over it. I hop on the radio and say, "Hey, there's a pothole there."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how Derek says your tolerance for dumbassery lowers with age. I feel like I'm still me, but I'm also just way more like direct. My wife does feel and wish that I would be somewhat more cognizant of, like, what people think about me, but I'm just like, they're gonna think what they're gonna think. I'm just gonna go. Just not gonna worry about it. But yeah, it's so funny. Like, I always kind of struggle with it as a balance, because it's like, do I, like, from my Christian, background, my belief system is like, does this person need some tough love? Do they just need some love? Do I just need to ignore them? Like there's always a handful of options that I kind of run down the list when it comes down to, like, especially interacting with people online. There was somebody who was like, someone's like, you could be getting an education. I forget what they said directly, but I'm paraphrasing. Like, you need to get an education. You should be going out there making money. What are you doing? And I'm like, they called me broke, and I was like, I'm broke? It's like, oh my gosh, I got like 6 kids in Catholic school. Like, I am not broke, but I'm not living high on the hog. It's like, good Lord.
You're middle class. You're not broke.
Yeah, I'm definitely middle class. And then doing the Dave Ramsey things, like, I don't owe anybody any money. My truck's 20 years old, and I just have money set aside that if it breaks down, I fix it up, and we just, I'm not driving new cars. I'm not going on fancy ass vacations. My wife and I kind of have our priorities, and we were like, yeah, we want our kids to go to Catholic school. So that's where they are.
Yeah. I mean, that's where it should be.
Yeah. And I tell you hands down, it's like, it ain't cheap, but it's like,
no,
hey, because I don't owe anybody money. It's like, oh, sure. I'll drive an old car.
There's a local Catholic school in my town, and my parents wanted me and my siblings to go there.
Yeah.
But they didn't have the money.
I'm interested. Do y'all see like Trump was, as a part of like all his different little things, was talking about like bringing in school choice? I know Texas has been really trying to push on skill.
There's this.
Go ahead.
There's this chick who's like really like anti, like
Just
TDS
broad.
and anti.
We should bring back the word broad as opposed to like chick.
She's
a broad.
I mean, I would kind of call her a bint. A left-wing bint.
Yeah.
If you know what that word is.
No, I don't, but it just sounds funny.
It's a stupid woman.
Oh, okay. Who wants to get canceled? It's like,
I mean, I'm whatever. It's fine. But anyway, and she's like posting all these things on Instagram about like the one thing that was posted was Trump apparently made an announcement that he's gonna like make an American Academy and he's gonna like teach kids all American stuff or whatever. And
yeah,
she's
like kind of bring it back national pride.
She's like, this isn't education. This is indoctrination. I was like, oh sure.
Yeah.
It's okay when your side.
Yeah, it's okay when you guys are indoctrinating and be like, all right,
like
everybody sucks. You're a victim. America sucks. We hate America. It's like, guys, America rocks. Like it really does. And you want to know why and how I can prove it to you. Who wants to move to China? Raise your hand. I don't see no hands being raised. It's like I don't see no volunteers.
The U.S. definitely has its issues, but I would argue it's still probably the best country.
Anybody want to go to Russia? Any volunteers? Come on.
You named all the wrong countries.
What country? I would visit Japan. Like I have no problem visiting, but I wouldn't want to live in Japan.
Japan is very difficult Japan is not very forgiving to foreigners who want to live there. It's
they'll sell you a house cheap.
That's true.
And then they'll pay you to have a baby.
See, that's what I'm wondering to see, and when we start talking about like family policy, because when it's said and done, like the numbers, like I remember like back in the 90s, it was like the world's overpopulated. It's we're not gonna, and then it's like turns out no, it isn't, and now we're all like, yeah, we're about to watch generations of people just like we're about to watch whole countries disappear off the planet. I think what it was the Japanese median age is 60 or 70. Korea, in the 50s or 60s. Like you don't have the population to actually make the population anymore.
The demographic bubbles are gonna pop at some point. I mean, I think China's is getting close. Japan is getting really close. I think the U.S. has some time, but.
Well, the U.S. has also its ability to import people because people want to come to the U.S.,
Right. Whereas most countries, they don't want to do that. Although Japan is becoming Japan is becoming more amenable, to it, but they're not exactly. Like the citizenry isn't that amenable to what the government is.
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to like do a couple things.
And I really would love to play Ashes. I even updated it before, like today. I had the computer up, logged in. It was doing this earlier, and so now maybe they had a patch or something. Like it goes right into what we were just talking about with Asmongold, because like it becomes my game time, the time I have to play games. It's all about the path of least resistance. If you give me too many steps that I have to take in order to just step in and play your game, that could be a big ass patch. That could be whatever. It's like if it is, I will go and say, well, because it's not like there's only one game and it's like, this is the one game. It's like, oh, I have a collection of great games that I, like to play and hang out in for a little bit, and they're ready to go. They're ready to go. They're ready when I'm ready. I just press a button. I was playing Enshrouded last night, and that's one of the games like this year. It was like I really enjoyed Enshrouded, but I always found myself busy with other things. And then last night we got back home and I was like, oh, I'm gonna play some Enshrouded because I got it's ready for me. And so I went and cleared the elixir well. So it's been a quest, like I'm still early on in the game because I just kind of dabble. But I was like, yeah, let's freaking go. What's up, Noctis? How you doing? So we'll see if this lets me play some Ashes. Because that's actually one of the things I'm kind of toying around with, because I was like, yeah, last time I had a reacts for the Star Citizen, and then we tossed to another stream for the New World stuff, and I was like, I can clip up this streams, and that's what it seems like a lot of people like, because in the YouTube editor I can go and say, here's React video 1, here's Asmon video, here's some gameplay, bop bop bop. So that's what I'm gonna kind of play around with, rather than set up multiple streams, because that just takes extra effort. Again, like, all right, if I'm going to sit down and play a multiplayer game, come on, download.
Yeah, plus also, if I'm remembering correct, like YouTube's reaction time with launching a stream, you got to be a minute, either right on time or a minute after he actually posts the time.
What? Wait, what? I didn't follow.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Or
Wait,
for the video schedule to live stream.
Oh.
Yeah, dude, Noctis, like, I've been playing most of my New World time has been on my Xbox. I've been playing on the Xbox Series S. I have a Series X, but I also have an S that's hooked up to the 1080p TV in my wife and I's room. It's great. It is a perfect console experience. Like, it is, there's no sub. I don't feel like I gotta be playing it. I can kick back. I like the voice acting. I like what I'm, like the story, the cutscenes. I like the different styles of cutscenes. It feels like it's a very cinematic experience, and it's fun. And it's the only downside is that it's not cross progression. That is its constant main weakness. But I'm glad you're enjoying it on PS5. Like, it is a fun game. That's when a lot of people were like dogging on the game. I was like, everybody says like, man, I put in so much time. It's so much fun. But, eventually it kind of like wears you out. Oh my gosh. Shocker. 1 second. Got a phone call coming in.
All right.
And once again, I think Ashes is going to elude Julie's almost home and on the way back. So I'm going to go make some coffee, and we're going to watch SNL, because that's what Julie and I do. Sometimes I got some funny jokes. Sometimes it's like, it's SNL. Let's see here. John says, Brian, as somebody who does not really know about Ashes, why would one care and spend the money? I wouldn't. in your category, not at all. The only reason why I've spent the money, I spent it like in January, is because as a content creator who likes MMOs, who really wants to understand what's out there in the market, so that way I can give you like my game dev, developer brain analysis of what's going on, and continually being proven right. I think I take pride in that. I think I'm the most apologized to content creator. They're like, oh man, I get what you said. Now that I've reached that point in life, or that point in the game, or whatnot. So I think it's interesting, but it runs a lot of risks. Right now, if we're talking about fan-funded games, Ashes and Star Citizen are by far the heads of state. But that means there's a lot of drama, a lot of pushback, a lot of frustration around it. What makes it special? That's a great question. I don't know. I have not yet been able to play. On paper, everything they talk about with a kind of a living, breathing world, how based off of what you do, different cities, different, they call these nodes, like the cities themselves grow and evolve based off of what happens. And so no one world might look the same because of that system. That's something that stands out. They're trying to address like the PvE and PvP and really kind of give a lot of different styles of play. But I've been trying to play it. Now we're at like 86%, but it is unfortunately time for me to mosey on, and we'll be bringing you guys some more content. Thanks so much everybody for joining. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider subscribing to Ginger Prime TV. This is where the home of future live streams and all that good stuff is going to be. You can also hit that notification bell, so that way if you're ever curious about when I go live, that's an easy way to get notified, as opposed to like when I post a video or whatnot. So thank you guys so much for joining. If you, 1 second, talking about ads, use the Brave browser. We don't have ads on this channel. This channel is not monetized, so you should not be getting ads. And if you are, I guess YouTube maybe is trying to make some money. I don't know. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the next thing that I make. And until then, take care.